Beck was awake. Not fully awake, not fully anything really, but awake enough to notice a shift. The kind of shift that's less like opening a door and more like the door opening itself, while you stand there knowing you're bound to walk through whether you want to or not. He was awake enough to register the sticky, cloying dampness of sweat on his skin, a sensation that managed to be both intrusive and boring. Awake enough to withdraw his arms from under the covers, awake enough to feel them pleasantly cooled by the unblanketed room air, and awake enough to notice his eyelids. His eyelids felt heavy, not in any logical, measurable way. These were the eyelids that repeatedly blinked all hours of the day, every day, without any notice. Yet in this moment, they seemed to carry an unyielding inertia, demanding to stay shut as they were. There was a peace and contentment in being shut, if only they could stay that way. They were relaxed, loose, unstrained, and uncontracted. They almost had a lightness, in fact, in their shut state. But opening them, that felt heavy. Or rather, it didn't, not really. If you removed the context surrounding the act, the effort to open was negligible. The eyelids themselves were not heavy, just as the actual effort required to open was not heavy either. It was the lead-up to the moment of opening, when his thoughts were stirring, but his lids were motionless. That was heavy. And yet, Beck would open his eyes. Why? He had no idea. Maybe it was habit or instinct or some deeper biological imperative beyond his understanding. What he did know was that he'd never gone a single day in his life without opening his eyes, and so, like clockwork, he was bound to do it again. That transition from sleep to wakefulness was the least tolerable part of Beck's everyday. It wasn't the act of opening his eyes itself, far from it. That was too quick, too automatic, too reflexive to even notice. To catch it happening in real time would be like spotting the precise microsecond when a magic eye puzzle resolves itself into an image. No, the act of opening his eyes was practically effortless. The dread was in the anticipation of it. This, Beck thought, was the real cruelty of it all. The weight of a thing that wasn't heavy. The foreboding of an act that couldn't be avoided, couldn't be botched, and couldn't even be meaningfully felt. The dread had no object, no reason for being, and there it was, pressing down on him like the air before a storm. Not for what he'd see when his eyes opened, but for the sheer doing of it. The truth was, it didn't matter whether opening his eyes took no effort at all or all the effort in the world. It would happen anyway. It always happened. And yet, every morning, Beck found himself unbearably waiting for the moment that, yes, was unbearable, but only because it had no substance to be bared.